بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ونبيك ورسولك نبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. First and foremost, I want to welcome you. My name is Razi Hanibi and the CEO of Discover You. And Alhamdulillah, part of the legacy that Sheikh Muhammad al-Sheikh Rahimahullah left here at Discover You. He was the late founder of Discover You, which was established in 2007. We are one of the pioneers and leading authorities in Islamic self-development. Alhamdulillah, Adwan was actually one of the first Islamic life coaching certifications back in 2007. Many of the respected shayukh and teachers that you know today went through that certification, and alhamdulillah, were able to elevate their approach to dawah, mashallah, the way they teach, the way that they were able to inspire their communities from the coaching tools that they learned. So alhamdulillah, you're coming into this not to a program that's new or an organization that's new, but really, alhamdulillah, ones that have been on the ground and doing this work and have helped thousands of Muslims across the ummah, alhamdulillah. And so that's what Discovery is about. What you can expect today, inshallah, is not just a webinar. It's not meant to be passive. Inshallah, it's going to be a workshop style. I'm going to be giving you a really powerful tool and approaching coaching from the prophetic model and how to really start this journey. Obviously, you're here because, some part of you is seeking clarity, is pulled to serving others, and maybe you don't have it all figured out today. Like I said, I know there's people here who are thinking about coaching, people who have perhaps started coaching, and people perhaps who are a little bit further into the journey, and you already are a coach and you've been doing this for a couple of years. But alhamdulillah, today could be a turning point. Inshallah, today could be an opportunity where you not only learn to be a better coach or you learn what the value of coaching is, but inshallah, really get more clear on if this journey is for you and how to go about it and be inspired through the prophetic model of elevating that coaching journey. Alhamdulillah. So this is not like a sales pitch disguised as a workshop. This is a workshop, and I'm definitely going to talk about Adwam, inshallah, but you're going to walk away with real tools. So, we have some of our students who are in the certification attending today. You're going to get new tool to use in your coaching practice as well. So, alhamdulillah, you're going to walk away with value that you can use in any aspect of your life. That's going to be really powerful. But I need you to make me a promise because I am showing up 100% to you. Alhamdulillah, this is not something I want you to treat haphazardly because you're like, oh, it's a free webinar. Like, how much am I going to get? You're going to get a lot, inshallah. So I need you to make a promise to me that the knowledge you learn, inshallah, you're going to act upon it. That, you're not going to let this just be the end. Can you make that promise with me in the chat? Like, make that intention. And, first and foremost, make that intention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? You're not doing this for me, but really make that niyyah that my time is valuable, right? Not me, like I'm saying for you, right? Your time is valuable and you're investing it here with me for the next hour. And I'm so honored and I thank you for that. But I want you to honor it for yourself by making that commitment that, yeah, Rab, whatever I learned today, I want to apply it. I want to take action on it. And I don't want to just be entertained. I don't want to just come here and, learn something and then it stops there, right? And let's be honest, like, because I'm definitely, our at-home webinars are a bit different. You get a different flavor inside of me. That's what distinguishes so many people from those who actually succeed. It's taking the action and actually doing the work. And so, alhamdulillah, if you're here, it's probably because you're in that category of people who does like to take action and does want to do the work. That's why you're compelled to help others because clearly you've been, inshallah, making some changes in your life. There's some shifts that you've been making. So I had a lot of you share why you're here. And, you said you want to gain more tools, you want to gain insight, you're interested in coaching. And that's wonderful, alhamdulillah. But I want you to honor that. And I want you to honor that, inshallah, by first and foremost, like I said, taking that action into yourself. And making that commitment. So alhamdulillah, setting our intention is so important. And alhamdulillah, elevate everything that we do when you set that niyyah as well. So this is a space today for those who feel called to coaching. This is a space for those who aren't fully sure yet, but they know they want to help. And this is for those who do feel something within themselves, based on life experiences you've gone through and the career that you're in, that you don't know the how yet, but you know that alhamdulillah, the timing feels right. And inshallah, the message of supporting people, of helping people grow through, alhamdulillah, what Allah has blessed us with in this deen is something that you want to do, inshallah. Is that Does that sound right for you? Like, are you in the right place? And if you're not, feel free to go. But if you're here and that feels right for you and that message is like, yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. I know I want to help people. I know that Allah subhanahu is giving me something incredible in this thing. And I'm really contemplating and at that crossroads. If that's you, then you're in the right place. Alhamdulillah. And I just want to share a quick story with all of you. So I have been a coach, alhamdulillah. Officially, I would say for a decade, but definitely I would say, when I actually started my practice before officially starting my practice, I was doing a lot of coaching and mentoring. So about 2 decades, I want to say, alhamdulillah. I've been involved in a lot of local organizations, developing programs, mentoring, coaching, and then alhamdulillah, nationally here in Canada as well. And I just want to share with you when I began this journey of coaching, I didn't start because I was like, oh, I'm so ready to coach people. I know exactly what to do, or I've got it all figured out. That was not the conversation. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people think that's where you start, that, you know that you're going to do coaching once you feel like you know it all, or you have everything laid out with you. But it's not that. I started, alhamdulillah, that journey of coaching because I kept being put in a position where people were coming for that support, and I knew, and Allah Subhanahu was putting me in a position where I kept offering value, alhamdulillah, guidance, and support and growth, being a vehicle of growth for people through what I was doing in my own life and what I was being told to. And, that just, I couldn't turn away from that. That was just the positions I was being put in. And so I didn't know exactly what I was doing at that time. And what I mean by that was I didn't really see myself fully as a coach. I didn't realize, oh, I'm constantly nurturing and supporting people and alhamdulillah, helping them grow. I just knew I wanted to serve the ummah. I knew I wanted to support people in the different aspects that I was. And what I learned is this: clarity doesn't come before the journey. So for anyone here who's like, I need to have all the signs laid out. I need to know exactly what that path is going to be for me. That's not where clarity comes. Clarity comes because you start walking that path. And so we've had a lot of, alhamdulillah, students, professionals, stay-at-home moms, entrepreneurs, educators, community leaders join the Adwan Islamic coaching certification that we offer. And as they started doing this work, mashallah, is gaining more clarity on what that path looked like for them. Because once you start, and alhamdulillah, the fruits of the life coaching certification is you're going to start seeing the change within yourself. That is how we've designed the program. You first, alhamdulillah, start to see the shifts as you're learning, as you're implementing, getting that support in our groups, alhamdulillah. And then you start to see the clarity and the passion and why you're here to serve, alhamdulillah. And that is the sunnah of life. That once you start, alhamdulillah, the path becomes more and more clear. So I want you to take that step, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens the next door when you start taking that step. If we keep waiting on the sidelines and we're waiting for, again, everything to line up and for the door to be open and for there to be red carpet, and then I'll know if it's time to start, I'm sorry to tell you that that's not going to be it. And you're probably going to be losing years, decades, and maybe worse, your whole life waiting for that. And I think, there's a huge group, majority, who sit on that place, right? Who wait for everything to line up, who wait for the door and the red carpet that never comes. And I can tell you from my own experience, alhamdulillah, and from supporting thousands of students who come through Discover You, the path becomes clear when you start walking. And this is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, that He helps those who help themselves, right? Allah does not change a people till they change themselves. So can you affirm that with me in the chat? I will change myself. Like, let's take responsibility. If I want to serve the ummah, and obviously you're here because some part of you does, then make that commitment, right? Ya Rab, I will first create the change within myself. Yes, thank you. Let's put that in, right? Like, everyone make that intention, responding to that ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the sunnah. I will create that change within myself, and I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring about change, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open doors and opportunities for me. Yes, alhamdulillah. You see, this is why I love this kind of energy and our Eglum sessions, because I get to be different with you guys. I get to push you harder. Like I said, our other webinars, alhamdulillah, they're great. There's teaching, but people are coming in usually just to learn, and that's it. You're coming here because you want to learn, you want to change, and you want to serve. Yes, those are the three pillars right there. Adlum is about, alhamdulillah, learning the model, the prophetic model, the spiritual Islamic model, alhamdulillah, bringing about change in yourself, and then inshallah serving others, right? Being pulled to serve others because that's the formula, alhamdulillah, the prophetic model. So let's talk about something that's happening quietly, but also not so quietly in the Muslim world, and that is that there is a pull. There's a pull to coaching. There's a reason you're seeing so many more Muslim coaches, and alhamdulillah. But we're seeing it also in response to there's a lot of people struggling silently. There are so many, subhanAllah, people in our ummah, our brothers and sisters who are mentally overwhelmed, who feel spiritually disconnected, even though they're believers or people who, alhamdulillah, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're emotionally exhausted, right? The relationships are strained. There's identity confusion. There's a constant pressure. There's anxiety that people are struggling with, subhanAllah. This is the reality of the society we live in, the state of the ummah, right? There's an overload, subhanAllah, of people who are in the space of serving. And let's be honest, the traditional role of imams, they can't carry it anymore. That's been clear. There's a crisis in every community. There is a need for more and more, alhamdulillah, torchbearers of growth and support. And friends don't always have the tools and sometimes can, subhanAllah, either do more damage or just don't hold space that others need. And in the middle of all of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed something incredibly special in the hearts of certain people. And believe, this is where coaching is coming in. That people have a desire, alhamdulillah, to help, a desire to guide others, a desire to listen deeply, and a desire to hold space for someone's growth. Alhamdulillah, coaching is not about just sitting there and talking and being in the pain. There's an aspect of that. But alhamdulillah, it's about supporting people who want to grow from the situation where they want to, again, change and bring out transformation. And that's really where coaching comes in. And I think more and more, alhamdulillah, we're seeing people recognize the value of coaching, the need for having a good coach in their corner, inshallah. And that's not random, right? This is really inspired, alhamdulillah, from the prophetic model. More and more people realizing that, the Prophet ﷺ said the most beloved of people to Allah are those who are most beneficial to others. That this was something that the Sahaba were being trained to do, right? Through their da'wah, through calling to Allah. It wasn't just teaching people, but it was really being beneficial to people. And alhamdulillah, effective coaches who are rooted in deen, people are feeling the power of that and wanting that and paying and investing in those kind of relationships, inshallah. And also in the workspace, in organizations, there's more and more communities that are investing in getting people certified as coaches. We've had a lot of those come to us because they realize the need for such figures, for such, alhamdulillah, skills in the community spaces and what's being built. So if you're feeling that pull to be a coach, to serve in some capacity, then again, I just want to validate, like, it's very real and there's a need and there's a reason you're seeing the uprise of that, because alhamdulillah, the ummah is also receptive and wanting more and more of that kind of support and people who will be a vehicle of growth for that, alhamdulillah. Um, there's so many examples I'm going to pull from just to inspire and anchor us, inshallah, in why, alhamdulillah, coaching is so prophetic. And again, please remember when I use the word coaching, it's not helping people grow for the sake of growth, right? When I'm using the word coaching as a believer, it's about, alhamdulillah, helping people grow closer to Allah, right? Helping people, inshallah, navigate life's challenges, tests, with the lens of Islam to the ultimate goal, which is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? I always, when people ask me, well, what is, like, what makes Adwam and what makes your coaching different? I say, my goal is to protect your soul. My goal is to, alhamdulillah, protect your akhirah. And we do that, inshallah, in every aspect we can when we're having these conversations. The goal isn't about making you feel better. The goal isn't your happiness, because that's not what the prophetic goal was or model. Alhamdulillah, what makes Adwam and our life coaching certification, Islamic life coaching certification, different is we've got a much bigger and higher goal. And when you approach it with that, alhamdulillah, everything will be in alignment in your life. You will feel that balance that we're all seeking, inshallah. So I wanted to share a really powerful story and example from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that maybe many of you have heard before, but you may not have heard it from the lens of this coaching hat, right? So why not already tell yourself that, alhamdulillah, I'm going to be a coach, or I'm on this path to coaching, right? And again, like I said, as a believer, like, everyone needs a certification. And that's what's amazing is we have so many people who come and say, like, this is something that we all need. These tools, alhamdulillah, this understanding, the self-worth that comes with the coaching certification, this is something every believer needs. And I firmly stand behind that because I see people come out as better parents, better spouses, better community leaders, just better, alhamdulillah, stronger believers. So the story, and like I said, I'm sure you've heard it, but now put it on your coaching hat and glasses. The Sahabi, the young Sahabi who came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked for permission to commit zina. Okay. And we know this story, but now just come into it with me. So this man comes to the Prophet ﷺ and he says something that obviously would be shocking for us even now. And, the companions are sitting there and he asked the Prophet, give me permission to commit zina. And the Sahaba, like instantly, big react. Like, they're just like, what? Like, how dare he? Like, subhanAllah. They're in shock. But the Prophet ﷺ didn't shame him. He didn't lecture him and he didn't push him away or rebuke him. He invites him closer for a conversation. He places his hand on his chest. So he helps regulate, just calm his nervous system so he can really speak to, like, there's so much happening here in this conversation. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to hear this hadith now and it's going to be through a completely different lens. So first he brings him into, he doesn't rebuke him. He creates a safety, alhamdulillah. And then he invites him closer. So builds that connection. And then he puts his hand on his chest to help regulate, right? And it helps him create that safety. So he's going to be receptive to what the Prophet's in response. And then he asks him a question. Again, doesn't give him a statement, asks him a question. And he says, would you like this for your mother? Pauses. Of course, the Sahabi responds, so no. He says, would you like this for your sister? Pauses. Would you like this for your daughter? Pauses. And he helps him see clearly without being reactive, without forcing him. And then he reorients him with dua. And he tells him, the dua that he should be making and seeking protection in. This is so powerful. This is what, subhanAllah, secular coaching can never give you, because you have the framework here that's not just regulation, that's not just reorientation, but first and foremost, it's grounded in what's the higher purpose, your akhirah, your soul, the actual consequences or repercussions this would have to your soul and the community that you're part of. It's so powerful. And then it helps them see clearly. There's no forcing. There's no, subhanAllah, like negative, like retribution of this, but it's such an incredible way of inspiring someone to change. And so, alhamdulillah, the Prophet, ﷺ, it's endless prophetic methodologies that you can use. And this is the founding of Islamic coaching. And so if hearing this feels something inside of you, just like, subhanAllah, I can't believe I've never seen it like that. And this is why you're here, because you're seeking not just inspiration for yourself, but you're seeking the tools, inshallah, that are going to bring about change in your life, transformation, and then, inshallah, the people you want to help. And this is where I want to go into it, that what actually is Islamic coaching, right? So I just want to clear some misconceptions before I give you a really powerful tool today, because I know there's probably still some of you who are like, so like exactly what is it? Like, what is it not and what it is it, right? So most people misunderstand coaching because they only see like what's on the surface. Like, okay, you're just talking someone through it, or the one I hear a lot, I'm just giving people advice. It's not. So let me simplify. Islamic coaching is not advice giving, first and foremost. The hadith they just highlighted, the Prophet didn't even give advice through that, right? Like he asked him questions for him to have clarity and perspective on what actually he was asking for, subhanAllah. So it's not advice giving. It's not therapy. And what I mean by that is therapy really focuses on the past. It's a lot of talking through things. Islamic coaching is about activating the future. This is what's really important. It's about activating the inspiration that leads to actions, because your fitra wants change. It wants to create change. And that's why I do get a lot of people that come, alhamdulillah, and they're like, I did therapy for years. I'm kind of tired of it. I don't feel change. So there's a place for therapy, but then comes the time where you're like, I'm ready for action. Like, I need to change my situation. And this is not a knock on therapy, right? There's a place for it. And coaching complements. We have a lot of, coaches that come and they go on to support people who are seeking therapy and seeking coaching at the same time, because you want to, like I said, there's a place for talking through it and healing from that. But then the real, hunger that people have and get restless in is, okay, I need some tools. Like, how do I move forward from this? I don't want to just stay here. And this hadith that I just gave you, if we were to put it just through the therapeutic model, like you could sit there and be like, well, where's this desire coming from? And, why do you feel compelled? And that would just be kind of talking through it. And there's a place for that. But we really want like the change. Like, I don't want to commit the sin. I don't want to be walking that path. And that's where the coaching comes in. So not therapy. And it's not mentorship, right? It's not mentorship. Mentorship says like, follow this path. This is where I can see you growing. Coaching is, let me help you discover the path. Let me help ask you questions. And let me, alhamdulillah, like give you the options that you're like, saying or being pulled to, and then help you, inshallah, find that clarity. So that's something that's really important. And then the final one, what coaching, Islamic coaching is not, it's not dawah lectures. You're not going to just come to a Muslim life coach who goes through a certification and they're just going to preach at you and give you a verse and another hadith. But it's really about, alhamdulillah, using the deen to facilitate transformation. Like the hadith I just gave you, right? Like I would use this on a coaching session and I'll give you an actual case study of it. But it's not just, oh, here's this hadith. And, now that you've heard it, you should just be conscious of the decisions you're making. No, it's going to be used in a really powerful way, alhamdulillah. So I just want to establish what it's not. So what is coaching? What is Islamic coaching, especially through our coaching certification? It's understanding the nafs. It's really understanding your own weaknesses and desires and limitations. It's this is all encompassing the prophetic methodology, emotional regulation, right? Coaching is helping you, alhamdulillah, build the tools and awareness around emotional regulation. It's reflective inquiry, right? Like building the capacity to actually ask yourself questions, be more aware and in tune. Again, in subhanAllah, the one it's not a hadith, but just a saying associated to scholar, right? The one who knows himself knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So helping you build that reflective inquiry where you're engaged in this process. We help our clients through the coaching certification. You learn to help your clients and yourself, inshallah, asking, questions, being more aware of why am I pulled to this? Why do I react this way? Deep listening, right? The prophetic model, as in the case study of the hadith I just shared, really building the tool of creating deep listening, not listening for the sake of responding, right? The prophetic model of listening and how one goes about in doing that spiritual alignment, right? So much of the pain that people have is because we are not aligned with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling us to. And so the goal of every believer, inshallah, is to close the gap between what we know and what we actually do. And this is where, spiritual life coaching and alhamdulillah, our life coaching certification, this is the goal. Helping people close that gap a little bit more in their life. And that's where, alhamdulillah, true sakina and contentment comes in. So helping people get more and more spiritually aligned. And then, inshallah, the prophetic ethics, right? What are the guidelines that the Prophet gives us? And that's really where, our coaching is rooted in. And then the final piece is service, right? How do I be in service to the ummah through what I learn? And this is what Islamic coaching is. It's how you help someone move from confusion, from being stuck, disconnected with Allah, to clarity, and then aligned their actions with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. This is the journey. And this is what we're constantly, inshallah, all of us, I hope, striving to do. But alhamdulillah, with a coach in your corner and through the certification, you learn how to do this with much more clarity, alhamdulillah, much more effectively, and inshallah, to really bring about change. So let me just take a pause there. How are you feeling so far? What's an emotion coming up for you? Is there a light bulb that's gone on so far? Because then I'm going to now go into the tool. So before I go into like teaching mode and giving this really powerful tool, I just want to connect with everyone in the chat. What are you thinking so far? What's coming up for you? Do you feel inspired? Is there questions? I love that Tilly says this is like a refresh button for alumni. Beautiful. Alhamdulillah. I'll give you guys a second to put into the chat. Love it. Crystal clear. Alhamdulillah. That's the goal. If anything I say is complicated, I'm not doing it right. So always want to be as simple and clear because that is the prophetic model. The Prophet was so simple and clear in his approach and teaching. SubhanAllah, I found some clarity. Awesome. What was the point after deep listening? Sorry, I missed that. Deep listening, I said after a spiritual alignment, which is a huge one, right? Like we want to be spiritually aligned. And that means challenging ourselves. That means pushing ourselves in sometimes out of our comfort zone. And this is where, again, the secular model versus Islamic model is huge because a lot of the secular spaces, it will be just too much leaning into the validation of one's experiences at the cost of spiritual alignment. And there's so many examples I see of this, and I've heard and had clients come to me because they knew the advice they were getting, the support they were getting in therapy sessions and coaching sessions with non-Muslims was not spiritually aligned. And they're right, I can't continue. I know this isn't right. And I don't want that at the cost of what, will come. How does this work in a secular work environment? Great question. Sapana, we've had a lot of obviously managers and people in leadership positions in non-Muslim spaces come. And so a lot of the tools are obviously transferable to coaching practices in non-Muslim spaces. Even the hadith I just gave you, right? Just the art of asking questions, connecting, building safety. These are things that are being taught in MBA programs now. So MBA 50,000, that's like the low ball, 50K programs are bringing in coaching certifications as part of their MBA. And the tools I just gave you, yes, they're prophetic. And we know that these are like space, tools used in non-Muslim spaces as well. But alhamdulillah, the integrity that you get to bring in as a believer will obviously change it. Because a manager who's just going to do deep listening for the sake of deep listening versus someone who genuinely cares for you because they know they have a higher accountability to Allah, trust me, it comes off differently. And I've seen that with our, alhamdulillah, graduates who are in non-Muslim workspaces, the integrity that they feel and the compassion that they've been able to build through the certification with non-Muslim colleagues has been, mashallah, a game changer for them. So yes, the tools you're learning are absolutely applicable in non-Muslim spaces. Obviously, there's going to be, certain parameters that you're not going to, cross because they're not Muslim. But like, alhamdulillah, you're going to be so much more effective in your leadership style and the relationships and safety that you'll build. Alhamdulillah. All right. Yes, beautiful, Bay. I love that. I've been Muslim for 17 months. This is something I should pursue. Oh my God, Courtney, I absolutely think this would help you. As a new convert, if you were to engage with this content again, it's first to bring about the change and the inspiration for yourself will be so powerful. I mean, one of the signs of an effective coach, can I just put this out here right now? One of the signs for an effective coach is that you should be able to self-coach. You should be able to, and I'll be honest with you, like I had this moment just a couple of days ago. Subhanallah, I've actually been suffering from really bad migraines for the last 2 weeks. I've not even been able to tell my team. Even today, I woke up with debilitating pain. Alhamdulillah, I was able to take medication. That's why I'm so energetic right now because I am, for the first time in like a few days, pain free. Alhamdulillah. And through it, I, had things obviously backlog, like tasks, projects I have to do on backlog. And I had to do a lot of self-coaching. And alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful to do the work that I do and this, the resources, the tools and skills I've been able to build because there was so much self-coaching that needed to be done for me to, alhamdulillah, still be effective in these days, for me to be able to adjust where I needed to and keep showing up. And, sometimes people see my life on the outside and they're just like, how do you do all of this? And I'll be honest, alhamdulillah, I have a lot of, recharge time. I'm very protective of my time. I'm very protective of, what I expose myself to. And this is all part of being an effective coach and the skills I've been able to build over the years, and again, it's only, like the majority, and this is not an easy path to walk, but man, is it such an effective one. It's one that I know on the day of judgment, inshallah, ya Rab, that I can stand and say, Ya Allah, like I used my resources well. I used the blessing and the privileges you gave me. And so I really see, the ability to self-coach, to learn these tools and be effective as a mission and, something that alhamdulillah, we're all accountable for. Like we all need to be able to, be able to do this, alhamdulillah. So I'm so happy to hear that, many of you are, mashallah, feeling that. And, because people say, I want to use this in my career. I want to use this with my children. Alhamdulillah. I'm going to answer some of the more logistical questions at the end when I talk a little bit more about the certification, but I want to go into the tools. So, okay, so let me just answer this. So it's a life coaching certification. So alhamdulillah, our Islamic life coaching certification, once you join, you get lifetime access to the actual modules and it's a go at your pace. So alhamdulillah, we get to go through the modules at your pace. We're mindful, like I said, people who join, alhamdulillah, are working full time. They're in different leadership roles. They've got families and things like that. So we go at your pace. But alhamdulillah, you get a year to complete the certification. And we have found on average, it actually takes people 6 months. So alhamdulillah, majority of our students finish it within 6 months. At the end of each module, we'll do a small quiz and to get your certification, you complete the quizzes and you have to do 20 practice coaching calls. So you can do that with friends and family. And then you submit your call logs. And once we verify that, alhamdulillah, you get your coaching certification. But here's the amazing part, which makes our certification different, is you get access to 1 year of group coaching every week with myself. So alhamdulillah, we meet every Thursday. I'm actually going to have the call after this one today at 12 p.m. Eastern, where it's an opportunity to ask questions, dive deeper into the modules, alhamdulillah, get coaching with me on the sessions. We do case studies. So students come on and, as they're doing their practice sessions, like actually getting feedback, alhamdulillah, and getting coached yourself as well, alhamdulillah. So you get access to that for 1 year. That alone, by the way, is worth 5,000. Like, well, getting a year of group coaching where you're having access to a senior coach is huge. And we obviously go into the business aspects as well. Inshallah, Iman, if you can drop the link, because alhamdulillah, today when you do join, inshallah, you get 500 USD off. So the actual certification is 2,500. If you join today, alhamdulillah, you get $500 off. And I would encourage you, you can also book a call because I know a lot of people hold themselves back, right? You question, like, do I have the capability? Will I be able to do this? That's the number one reason that people wait for years, right? Like, we're questioning ourselves. So you can book a call with one of our team and coaches and team members. Inshallah, get your questions answered. And when you sign up, you get the $500 off. So take advantage of that. And alhamdulillah, like I said, people who go on to complete the coaching certification, they go on to use these tools in their careers, their families, establish their own coaching careers, mashallah, and, alhamdulillah, are able to serve and elevate the ummah because they have started to bring about that change in their own lives, alhamdulillah. So that's kind of an overview of it. And you get access to demo calls. So demo calls meaning you get to see live sessions that I've done where I'm coaching people. So you get to, alhamdulillah, observe that, take notes. We've got amazing resources, PDFs and infographics to go along with the modules. So you're not just getting the video modules, you're getting a lot of tools and resources alongside, mashallah, the modules as well. We've got Sheikh Mikhail Ahmed Smith, who's one of the instructors in Adwam, myself, Sheikh Mohammed Al Sharif, rahmatullah, Dadu Mohammed Sheikh, who's a senior NLP practitioner. And then we've got Sister Minahal Begwala, mashallah, who is a Muslim licensed therapist. And so you're getting like a beautiful spectrum of, mashallah, teachers in this certification. That's what makes our certification also very unique, is that you're not just getting people who are coaches, you're getting, alhamdulillah, holistic approach by the different presenters and teachers in the course as well, alhamdulillah. So you can have a look there, inshallah. But I'm going to go into the tool I want to give you today that if you start applying it, you're already going to feel the change, inshallah. Are we ready? Are you ready to take notes and get into this? Like I said, you can start using this tool today, inshallah. And this is one of the structures when it comes to Islamic life coaching. Like, you're literally going to be able to apply this and feel a shift, inshallah. And this is where people really have that moment where it's like, why did no one tell me this before? Like, how did this? It's like so simple. And again, it's about approaching, the examples that we see, alhamdulillah, through the Prophet's model that you've not been taught or you don't see it through this lens, inshallah. So the first one, today that you'll have, if you want to join, inshallah, the certification, you're going to be able to join the group coaching session. Yeah. So it's part of the certification. All right. So the first tool that I'm going to give you is basically the 3 R's. And this is something that, again, is inspired by the prophetic model, alhamdulillah. And I kind of, first introduced you to it through the hadith. So the first step is regulation. And what regulation actually means to the Islamic framework is calming the nafs. You cannot bring about change until that nafs is tamed. And so the first one, before the Prophet taught anyone, it was about calming their internal world. And so, yes, we hear about the power of regulations, but it's really about understanding what that means and how to go about it and why the Prophet, really, mashallah, understood the power of it even before all the research and everything now, right? SubhanAllah, he was the best of teachers, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So it's about calming the nafs. And once you can do that for someone, inshallah, you can help them calm that nafs. then the rational brain is activated and they're going to be receptive to what you say. And that's where safety is established. So just examples of this is the Bedouin who came and urinated in the masjid, right? The Sahaba were ready to jump in and the Prophet said, stop, like let him, finish. And he came to him and the Prophet spoke to him and said, go and just like throw water on it. And then he came and he spoke, right? So they're like constant model. The hadith I just gave you, the man who came for zina, right? The Prophet regulated him by putting his hand on his chest and just eye contact, helping him build that safety. The companion who panicked when disaster struck, right? And there's actually a few different narrations of this, of examples of this, like people going through the calamities, the subhanAllah, turbulent, instant moments that would happen and people struggling with that. The Sahabi who was grieving, the shahada of his father, right? Like who, lost his father and they hadn't taken, they hadn't become Muslim before they passed, right? So a lot of examples of where there's people grieving and how the Prophet would help them first regulate. There's a beautiful hadith of the boy, for those who know, he lost his bird. And so the Prophet like put his hand over his head and first just asked him about his bird, right? What was your bird's name? So like just ways of having to help him regulate. And then the boy was able to like catch his tears and then started talking to the Prophet. So before you can give direction, you have to regulate. And people who are in corporate spaces, like we can be so reactive when, project hasn't gone well. We're trying to figure out what the solution is, especially in parenting, you can be reactive. You can't give directions until a person's regulated. Otherwise, it becomes just a very reactive and toxic zone. So people cannot think, they cannot reflect, and most importantly, they cannot change while their nervous system is in chaos. Subhanallah. So, alhamdulillah, the tool you want to have is what are you feeling right now? Right? Helping a person identify what they're feeling can help calm that nervous system and de-escalate the heart. The other thing that's really important in this part is asking what they feel right now. And then this is where the practice the Prophet ﷺ had of reciting Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Nas. More specifically, Surah Nas. Surah Nas is seeking protection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala against the Nas, right? From the Nas. And so having a person, in that moment breathe and recite Surah Nas and really, understanding, inshallah, and you talking them through what it means in Surah Nas, what you're seeking protection from is very powerful. That you know what, you're not weak. This is something that we all struggle with, that we need protection from the nafs and helping calm and the nervous system through that power of dua, but very conscious dua is powerful. So that's the first one is regulation, right? Regulation and calming the nafs. So that's like, I keep mentioning the nafs because we need to understand what we are regulating. It's not just the nervous system. You're regulating the nafs. And alhamdulillah, when that happens, like I said, the rational brain kicks in and now I'm able to, inshallah, to go towards change. So that was the first tool, the prophetic model, 3 R's. The second one is expanding awareness, reflection, right? And this is, again, inspired from the different hadiths that I've mentioned. So the Prophet ﷺ would often, right, once he calmed the nervous system and the nafs, he would guide the questions with stories, right, with reframes, with perspective shifts. These are all tools in the Adwan coaching certification that we go deeper in. But the reflection, alhamdulillah, invites a person to understand their own pattern, to understand, become aware of their own weakness, limitation. This is so powerful. Someone can't change what they don't know, right? Someone can't change what they don't even realize what their limited capacity is. I actually just had a really powerful session yesterday with a client who was sharing that, she really wants to like help her kids in Salah. And what was incredible was through our conversation, she shared and realized that because she had had such a, subhanAllah, rigid and unfortunately at times negative upbringing with Salah and how it was enforced, that perhaps she's so much, and she didn't realize this till a conversation, she's so much on the other side where it's like, I don't want to do any enforcing and I don't want to push my kids at all, that it's actually coming at a detriment, that she's not really setting a healthy boundary and healthy reinforcement and in a ritual of praying, because it's like, I am so afraid to push them that I'm completely like easing off, right? So reflection invites the person to understand their own pattern. So the way that one does this through the prophetic model is, what story are you telling yourself about this, right? What are you telling yourself about this? Because the story is what shapes the emotion. The story is what shapes the emotion. So that's the second R, is helping build reflection through reframe, through a perspective shift, through what the story is behind this, because everything else is following that. If I've told myself that, I'm not valued at work, that's the story I constantly tell myself. I'm not valued at work, or I'm not capable, or I'm not going to bring about change, or Allah is not going to use me to do good. Everything comes from that. And Shaitan loves to plant those stories. So it's so important for us to be aware, wait, what's the story I'm telling myself? And what's the story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written and that I'm supposed to be part of? And this is where obviously, I would bring in certain Quranic verses to help, inshallah, shift that perspective. So the second R is reflection and expanding awareness. And then the third one, the three R's, right? To bring about, inshallah, change and transformation through the structure of Islamic and prophetic coaching. The third one is reorientation. And what that actually means is, how do I align with Allah? How do I align with Allah? So this is where Islamic coaching differs from secular and everything else, because you can reorient someone, but it can be to obviously a direction that's away from Allah subhanahu. So once a person is regulated, they have the awareness, right? And you redirect their heart towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not through just lectures, right? Not through just preaching at them, but through insight, directing their heart back. So, for example, the tool you will use here is, what value from our deen should guide your next step, right? What value from, or, what hadith, what verse, what act that's pleasing to Allah right now should your next step be directed from? What would really guide Allah's content? I can tell you firsthand, using this simple question is so powerful, because it's one thing to say I believe in Allah. It's one thing to say I believe in the Quran. It's a completely different situation when you live it. And so whenever I'm on a session with a client who's struggling with something, who's stuck in some moment, and I pose this question, right? Like, what's the next step that would be pleasing to Allah in the situation you're in? And they're able to verbalize that. It is one of the most powerful moments, because when you actually start to align your life with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with, your world changes. So you can say, yeah, I believe in the Quran, or I believe that, Allah forgives, but then you're struggling with something that you've done and you just can't forgive yourself for it. And then I pose this question, and I've had this with a client, and, the person says, because they stopped, making dua because they felt like they were just not worthy of Allah's forgiveness. And so when I ask this question and they say, I know that asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness and continuing to call upon Him would be the right thing. Like, that would be what directs me back to Allah. It's like, well, then what holds you back from it? And as you're having that conversation, it completely shifts, right? Alhamdulillah, people completely transform because it's tied to something greater. It's tied to their akhirah. It's not just reorientation for the sake of reorientation. And this is how lasting change is built. And I can tell you right now, as a parent, and whenever I have this conversation with my son, he's about to do something, or he has done something, and I say, is that pleasing to Allah? Or do you think Shaitan was very happy because you did that? And I see his demeanor completely change, because we all need that reminder. And when he realizes, wait, like, I want Allah to be pleased with me, and I know what I did wasn't the right thing. That wasn't what pleases Allah. And subhanAllah, there's a complete shift in how they're coming to the situation. So I really want you to understand, subhanAllah, this isn't just about using hadith and Quranic verses, but this is, alhamdulillah, using it in a way that is effective and brings about change. And alhamdulillah, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us these beautiful, powerful examples and the best of role models for us to take it and live with it, right? And this is what's so key, alhamdulillah. And now that you kind of understand, just as one tool I gave you, the three R's, I want you to use what you can today to bring about that change, right? Um, what- so I'm going to answer some of the questions in a second, but I just want to take a moment right now, inshallah, and I want you to ask yourself that if what you learned today, did you like, and that might be from the tool that I just shared, right? So just a quick recap of the R's that I gave you was regulation, right? Regulating the nafs, awareness, right? Expanding awareness. And the third R was reorientation by aligning ourselves to Allah. If you applied what you learned today and you use this in one part of your life, do you feel like you would already experience, inshallah, transformation? And I hope that, as I was sharing it, there's some aspect or some place in your life you're struggling with and you're not using this. And I'm sure your mind's already going to like, I want to use this next time in this conversation or in this situation. Alhamdulillah. Yes, and make sure you type in select everyone so everyone gets to see what you put in. So what I hope you're taking away today is one, alhamdulillah, that if you're here because you feel pulled to serve others, don't wait for everything to be perfectly aligned because you don't even know what that means. And that clarity, alhamdulillah, momentum comes when you start taking that step. When you start taking that step, inshallah, the change and inshallah, the path becomes clear because this is the sunnah, this is the prophetic model. And that too, alhamdulillah, there you could go to any secular space to get coaching certification or to learn these tools, but it will only be giving you half the story. Alhamdulillah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is at the center of what you're learning and how to bring about change, it will always be far more effective when alhamdulillah we have our deen guiding those principles and alhamdulillah guiding those changes. And then thirdly, alhamdulillah, that you're not just getting therapeutic models and coaching tools, but you're really getting a framework that serves the ummah and protecting people's souls. That inshallah through this work and through the intention of serving the ummah, that's really what differentiates and distinguishes us. And alhamdulillah, kind of everything else that I shared with you today about, discovery is not something new. We've been around since 2007. Alhamdulillah, we had the credibility and authority in what we've done. We've had, like I said, Sheikh Walid Basuni take our certification, which I'm sure many of you know. The registration page is there. So go through and see, mashallah, testimonials. We've had, alhamdulillah, over, hundreds of students come take our program, discover you. All the programs that we do are birthed from these prophetic models and principles that we teach in our life coaching certification. And so Discovery has served thousands of students all over the world, mashallah. And alhamdulillah, this is not something that is just theory, but it's really about practical living that change and doing that within ourselves and who we serve. So I want you to really understand what you're getting, mashallah, in this. And like I said, alhamdulillah, the spectrum of teachers you get to learn from is incredible. The weekly life coaching. So we're not just like, go through the certification, that's it. No, we're supporting through that journey, inshallah. And that is something that's really powerful, alhamdulillah. And lastly, as I said, Ivy League universities bringing in coaching certifications as part of their MBAs and charging 50 to 60 and like I said, higher price ranges for that. And we've had, alhamdulillah, people come from some of the MBA programs. We've had, mashallah, therapists come who are like, this has given me more insight and tools to use than, my therapist degree in serving my Muslim clients. So alhamdulillah, I really encourage you, go through that, inshallah. Go through the registration page and you get $500 off today when you join, or if you book a call, inshallah, go book. If you have any questions, like I said, I've noticed over and over, the biggest thing that holds people back is themselves, right? The self-doubt, what shaitan wants you to believe, right? You're not good enough. Who's going to come learn from you? How are you even going to how are you going to be able to help anybody? First and foremost, you guys all made that commitment, right? I want to change. And if you want to change, trust me, you will first and foremost see that change as you go through the certification. And from that, alhamdulillah, you're going to feel even more confident, inshallah, and sincere in wanting to serve others. So don't let shaitan hold you back. Don't let him convince you that you don't belong here. That's really important. Beautiful. I love it. I always get this question. Are we ICF certified? No, we are not, because we intentionally just don't need a non-Muslim authority to certify us. There's certain restrictions and parameters they place on like what you're teaching and certain things that principles that you would not be able to have. And we don't need those restrictions. So alhamdulillah, our accreditation really stands for itself from the alhamdulillah authority that we have in what we've built, the teachers that we bring forth. Alhamdulillah, so we've only worked with credible, obviously, teachers, shayukh, NLP practitioners. So no, we are not certified through them, and that's something we've done intentionally. Alhamdulillah. When will the recording be available? So yes, today's session is recorded. You will get access to it if you register. The program is 2,500 USD, but when you sign up with that $500 off, inshallah, you get it for 2,000 USD, which is huge. And it's you guys like an amazing rate. I have no problem standing behind, mashallah, what we charge because we deliver quality. And like I said, there's like non-Muslim institutions out there that deliver like literally 1/4 of what we teach in terms of just quantity and support, and they charge like 8 to 9,000. So please, be mindful. Like, go look at those price ranges. There is a payment plan as well, alhamdulillah. Um, and yes, lifetime access to the recordings, alhamdulillah. So you can take your time in, going through that. It is go at your pace, and then you have 1 year to complete the certification. Like I said, alhamdulillah, majority of the students do it within 6 months. So 1 year is more than enough time. The other part that's beautiful is, mashallah, you get community support through it. So, when you come on the weekly group coaching sessions, you're getting so inspired, which I'm sure you felt from today's session, but you get inspired being on that. And then you have peer to peer support, which is awesome. So you actually get to come, I believe it's twice a month, peer to peer coaching sessions where you're coming on, you get to go to breakout room with your peers, get coached, coach them, get feedback. So there's a lot of opportunities to practice within the program and have that community support, which is really important. That's a pillar of change and part of Discover You. They are always together. Inshallah, we're not walking this path alone. And that's something that, again, is part of the prophetic model. Alhamdulillah. How does lifetime access work? So lifetime access to the recordings of the course. So, you saw today we had some students come back who just love to keep obviously expanding their toolbox and refreshing their knowledge. So you get access to the portal for lifetime. You don't, that's not limited. But you have 1 year to complete the certification. Would I able Yeah, absolutely. We have so many people who are working full time and able to do the certification on the side. So we've really intentionally designed it for the working professional and, people with families. Absolutely. And yes, payment plans are up to 6 months. Thanks for reminding of that, Hin. So go take advantage. If you felt a pull today, inshallah, um, that's coming intentionally from someone, right? Allah subhanahu has placed that in us. And like I said, you know, I firmly believe this is actually knowledge that every believer needs. It's not just about people who want to be coaches, but this is knowledge that will change and elevate your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're going to feel that. Alhamdulillah. Thousands of students are served by coaches and mentors are the in the US. Students all over the world. So alhamdulillah, we've got coaches who have gone through the advanced certification, UK, Canada, US, Europe, mashallah, Australia, students from all over. Alhamdulillah. It's applicable knowledge that's not limited to one country. Can we buy the recorded course only for discount if we're not ready to get the certification? Join live class. I'm very interested. Okay, yeah, you can email support. I'm not sure that that's going to be we don't really break it up in that way, but I think book a call. I think you'll realize, alhamdulillah, for the price point, the value you're getting, you'll still want to benefit from it. And it's not about just the certification, inshallah. So book a call and speak to one of our reps as well as our team members. And then jazakallah khair for being here with me. I hope, inshallah, you get time, process the session, go apply those tools, go take that step, right? Take that step towards change, alhamdulillah. Be that vehicle, make that dua, right? May Allah subhanahu allow us to be the vehicle of change in our own lives and supporting others, alhamdulillah. And I know that's why so many of you joined here today, because there's some part of you that's pulling you to that. So lean into it, inshallah. Practice the tool I gave today in that part and take that step. So what do you have to lose? Go book a call, inshallah, and have those questions. If it's really you holding yourself back, get the support. And that's what those calls are for. Alhamdulillah, get the support and challenging that story and seeing if, inshallah, this is the step that you're ready to take. Alhamdulillah. The discount is available for, I believe, 24 or 48 hours max. Alhamdulillah. And- Right, you guys, I'm going to close this off. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik ashhadu la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallah khair, and I will see you inside, inshallah, inside the Advam program. Assalamu alaikum.